really marked. You know, that's one moment. I recently put my daughter in gymnastics, and that's all she been talking about. That's all she been talking about. You know, and like that makes me feel successful. I recently moved to Cleveland. Tell both of you, I recently moved to Cleveland, and hearing my daughter, you know, kids don't be lying, boy. They're not gonna lie to each other. And like that's a level of accountability that I'm grateful to have, you know. And like to hear my daughter tell her story. You know what I'm saying? And for me to be like, yup. You know what I'm saying? In my mind. You know what I'm saying? You know, and to hear it and like her truth it took a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. And to hear her truth, it's just I'd be like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And yes, it is for sure shortly. Because like now, my son, what you gonna do, dog?
What was that song that have you done for me lately?
Come
That's
on.
how I feel.
That's what I'm doing. For sure. That's my kids too.
So, let's pass this to each other. I just wanted to give us some, you know what I'm saying, some energy real quick, you know. As we prepare to transition into the art, I feel like let's flex on ourselves for a moment, right? Let's flex on ourselves for a moment. I feel like the sisters have a 6th or 7th or 8th, I don't know, but it's got another. There's something else that the creator put in there where it's like the sisters can feel what's authentic and what ain't, right? And our sister invited us to hold this conversation because I believe she know ain't no cap in our father. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no cap in the wicked. So let's just motivate ourselves a bit. All right. The question before we transition into our art practice is, I'm a good father because of what? You know what I'm saying? And like I say this because like it's power. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a good father because of what?
I think I'm a good father because it's presence over presence. So me being in the presence of my kids, I feel makes me a good father. Because as a black man, in the narrative of what a black man is, from society, even from my mom, from my aunties, we ain't ish. You know what I mean? And so I always held on to those words like, hey, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. You know what I mean? And so when I think that right there is enough in giving myself enough grace because I don't have all of the tools and I don't have an actual like person that I can model my father skills off of. Like I'm literally going off of the fly. So, but me being present is probably what makes me, what you would say, like, what was the question, like a successful, I'm a good father because of the presence of me being there. And then I'll just give one more. Me being able to be successful in what I'm doing, my kids are able to see something. When I talk, they listen because they know, like, I ain't lying to them. So I remember coming up, my uncles or just anybody would try to tell me something, and then I'd look at them like, man, you ain't doing nothing though. And I was a little kid, but I'm like, well, I'm gonna listen to you, and you ain't doing nothing that I want to do. You know what I mean? But you know, that was just the young me. But now I listen to, you know, even the drunk on the street got some wisdom. You know what I mean? Just so you won't end up like him. But at the end of the day, it's like that alone, me being able to go out and do something and then be able to bring my kids to it and they be able to see like, oh, I watched you do that, and then now it's up on the wall and people are being able to see it. Next thing you know, my daughter's in there. She's sitting on the floor in my studio with her art supplies. And so it ignites something in your kids. Now, my son is not an artist, but he loves basketball, so I went and bought him a hoop every day. Daddy, he's shooting. My daughter plays. See that? He what my wife do. My wife is in the medical field, so he said he wants to be a doctor. You know what I mean? Cool. Take. But the presence of that is what makes me a good father.
I'm a good father because I know enough to know I don't know a lot at all. Actually, I know enough to know I know very little. What I mean by that is I'm willing to say I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit and take accountability for things that may not go the way they should. Or I'm willing to go find the answer. I go research. I will find the answers for my children. I will listen to advice. I go the extra step. I think that's a key component to this thing, especially when you don't know. It's like being willing to try to find out. It's like I don't know, but I'm gonna learn. I approach every day like that with my kids. I want to listen because I don't want to assume I have an answer. Because a lot of times I think parents assume that everything they say and do is in the best interest of the child, right? Because it's got to be right. You know what I mean? Like, it's my child. I'm doing this for them. It's got to be. You could be wrong too. I think for me, I've sat my children down and said, "Look, Daddy went this way, and I shouldn't." And I took ownership. I explained where we're wrong at. I'm also willing to listen to them. Me and my son have conversations, sound like two grown men. And he's telling me what he think I should do in this situation and how I should hit the ear, and we're going back and forth. And I say, okay, you challenge me, why don't you go research it and figure it out from your end? I'll go figure it out from my end. We do that a lot, So for me, it's just understanding that I still am developing. So I don't have all the answers to this. And sitting in that, I think that's really important because, I want my kids to look at me as that guy that knows and can do everything. The truth is I might have learned it right before I introduced it to them sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, I guess I'm taking my educator role, and I'm like, as long as I'm a step ahead, y'all always think I know something. But the truth is I'm always trying to figure out and trying to develop and learn more because I'm not content, because I know it's more, right? So I think for me, knowing that I don't know a lot is a vital thing, because the moment I start to assume and the moment I start feeling like I got the answers is the moment that they find it that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and the last thing I want is for my son to be like, well, dude, you lied to me. I don't want that. Yeah, I think I never want my kids to look at me as like I deceived them or I wasn't honest and truthful with them. Because that's what I stand on, being honest. And, like that's, especially with them. If I'm gonna lie to anybody, it's definitely not my children. So I think that's what I'm all about.
I'll quickly contribute. It was this one time, me and my daughter was in the car. We went to get some pizza. It's this spot called Pizza World up the street, man. And I like to play with my daughter. We put some instrumentals on. We freestyle in the car. See this little fat girl sitting on come up, what she gonna say? And it ain't all rap either, but like some alternative, you know what I'm saying? And she was singing, she started singing her song. Man, I'm in tears, get out the car. I teared up, you know what I'm saying? Because it was flowing, it was just flowing for her. And she was like, everything is perfect. Daddy loved something. It was just raw. You know what I'm saying? It didn't rhyme one bit. But I can tell that like I believe in the creator. You know what I'm saying? I can tell that like, cause at the moment I don't have nobody to bounce my decisions off of. You seem like y'all, you know what I'm saying? And like, I think, I feel, you know, at that point, I was a good father. That's her freestyle in front of me. You know what I'm saying? And like, y'all call my mom, I'm like, hey, guess what Lil said? You know what I'm saying? I call my father, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I call my sister, everybody that I went to, you feel me? And like, that's what I would say. It was sitting in front of Pizza World, 8:40 on a Friday. She dropped these bars. You know what I'm saying? She dropped the bars.
From the heart.
Bars from the heart, right? You know? So, alright. So, and me being a restorative justice practitioner, we tapped in, you know what I'm saying? We tapped in. So, you know what I'm saying? He tearing up, so that's the only reason I'm playing. Ain't no tearing up, man. I'm making a joke, y'all.
I cried the job of the hat. I don't even care no more.
Alright, so how we feel about, you know, transitioning a little bit to
Let's do it.
heart?
Let's do it.
Alright, so, you know, let's pull up some of the good questions. How would we say that fatherhood, being a father, has impacted the way we approach our art?
I mean, I could go. My kids have been everything in my art. I did my first painting of my son, and it was like 2 hours long. My work has been predominantly about my kids since his birth. And the reason why, it was a few different things that happened. It started to happen in graduate school. And I was using my nephews, other kids to kind of talk about instances of things that was happening in the world. And once my son was born, I was like, boom, like, this is my child. I'm going to chronicle, you know. What I think I'm doing is I'm cataloging their development, right? And they're never going to be able to lose their history because it's in museums, because it's in people's houses, because people are holding on and taking care of their history, right? And it's kind of it's funny because in some ways I feel like, man, am I making him an object? But I remember being young and I can't go tap into my history because my images is gone. The memories of me as a child is gone. It all happened in a flood, but I lost a lot of my childhood. Like the visuals of it. Of course you still remember, but the visuals. So for me, it's now my kid can go in Pennsylvania. My kid can go in Indiana. My kid can go in Michigan, and they can see themselves. They can see them at 5, him at 4. You know, like, and for me, it was like, man, that to me just seems so dope. So on a selfish level, I'm able to like showcase my kids growing up all over the world, and they get to live all over the world, you know. So for me, that became a big part of the practice. Also, my son, I mean, everyone says he looks just like me. I've been since the beginning, been looking at him in certain situations and being like, man, that's reminding me of something that happened to me. Or that's reminding me of this event. So I end up cataloging that. You know, I end up taking the image of that, painting that, and now that becomes something where I'm like somehow reliving moments of my life, but also talk about a current event. I've always been taught to kind of lead a work more secular, leave it more open, so other people like you can come in and bring your own thing to it and can have something to go away with. But really, I can break it down in a huge narrative. And I can talk about every little thing that's happened in my life looking at those works. So it's extremely personal. I just tried to find a way to navigate so that no one can, they don't have to know, if that makes sense. So, but it's been, and honestly, I didn't really paint anything of a woman until my daughter. So until I actually knew what it was to be a father of a daughter, I didn't feel like I could do a woman's story justice. So after losing my mom and having my daughter, that's when I actually started to paint women or kids that was girls, like really, like seriously, because I didn't know the best way to tell that story, and I had to like live with it in order to really talk about it. So yeah, my kids has been my practice.
Repeat the question one more time so I can make sure I'm not going off.
Going off sometimes is necessary. How has being a father impacted your approach to your art career? Is your approach to art making?
I'll say like what kind of started me to even paint the family structure in general was not seeing enough male representation in family paintings, right? You see the baby, the child in Madonna, you see those type of paintings and you're like, what father? like someone had to also add to that. And so me seeing that void was out there, wanted to fill that and also push back against those societal narratives about the black family unit in general, because I feel like that's what's been under attack since civil rights unit, right? If you go back into history, you know that our families were together and they were strong. And I'm not saying everybody was happy, and I'm not saying there wasn't some things done wrong, but hey, like we're having a conversation about grace, we have to also give the ancestors grace, and we have to give each other grace for learning from a plantation, right? If you subscribe to that, I know that's another subject that people don't want to put out, because everybody don't want to accept the fact that we come from that history. But I think the misconception of the work when I first started my art practice, because I painted so many like traumatic things that was happening to the black man in the community, or just us in general, I got a bad rap around, hey, trauma porn, this, that, and the third, and you get that pushback, but I wanted to have that conversation because I felt that no one was having the conversation though. Yeah, it's happening. Well, and I'm an artist, I should have some type of license to document and transcribe what's going on in today's world, right? Like, what we gonna do? Like, if I go back and look at some early Harlem Renaissance paintings, I can actually go and see a painting that's gonna tell me exactly how that artist was feeling at that time. So it's not like it's not in the history of painting that police brutality and all these different things, the black family, that whole lot. You can go back and look at how the Renaissance paintings with William H. Johnson painted a whole family on a plantation. Or you can look on Google and you can just see photographers that took pictures of entire generations of families on plantations. So it was me wanting to say like, okay, how do I document what's going on today and how that family structure looks today? Because the men that I'm around in their kids' life, even if you not with a woman in a unit, in a family unit, all my homies, they in their children's life. I'm not hanging out with you as a man and you ain't taking care of your responsibility. You know what I mean? I think that's where the accountability lies too. You know what I mean? So I don't say that that's all right, but that's what really drove me though, is that I didn't see enough representation of that, of the actual family structure. And how did that look? I could go look at, other paintings of other races and different things like that, and you can see some of that. But every time a black person is in the painting, they're serving someone of a higher stature. And so I want my paintings, if they're going to be in museums, to reflect what my family looks like, so when my kids go into a museum, they can see something that I didn't see. And so that's really was the driving force behind the way that I paint and create. I didn't go in the vein of Darius of actually painting my kids, but I will have them pose, right? If my kids are doing something and I'm documenting a moment, I would say I really love the energy of this moment. I'm going to paint it, but I'm not going to paint them. I'm just going to paint the pose. And so I would take that and I would literally switch them. So sometimes if you see a little boy in my painting, it's really my daughter. And sometimes if you see the girl, it's really my son. And then I'll just switch them. You know what I mean? Or I'll just, you know what I mean? So, or if I see another family, oh, that's dope. They sit there eating. You know, they don't know. And then I'll just take that, because those moments when I see it's being real genuine, I think that energy translate through the work as well. So when people see it, they can relate to it. I even had white men tell me, "Wow, man, I feel, even though that I can't relate to you as a black man, I understand your paintings though, because I can see myself in it through the way that I am with my kids." And so it's a certain respect when men can see themselves reflected in paintings as not just the mother, the single mother, and she breastfeeding, and you know that thing, which is fine. I'm cool with that. But my narrative and the things that I want to paint has a full family unit in it, where everyone is represented, so everyone can feel like they see themselves. And also, I feel, because I believe in God and I believe that family is important, that also bleeds into community, because what you build at home will reflect in the community. And then, so until we start to, until I started to actually notice how much the home plays a part in the dividing of the community. If I'm eating in the living room, my kids is eating in the kitchen table, and my wife is upstairs, she eating in the room, that's a division right there. And so you'll never see me painting that scenario. If I paint anybody at the table, we're all gonna eat together, because that's how I feel in the community. We all should be eating together.
You know, you're leading us into our next question. Is like the role of the artist for the community. I think we were talking about fatherhood. We definitely were talking about community, so like our immediate community that we create, right? And like the role of, and what would we say the role of the artist? This would be our last question, and we can just kind of open it up. All right. We got a 3:45 hard stop.
Okay.
You know how you ask questions and confirm it at the same time.
Good.
But yeah, the role of the artist as it relates to community. All right, and I don't mean from like the textbook role of an artist, but like for us individuals, we say, right, it's the role of the artist as it relates to. Not that we all do community work, maybe we can speak a bit about our community impact efforts. All right, community impact efforts and the role of the artist as it relates to community.
I think the role of the artist is just to be the artist. I think we're often put in positions to become art social workers. We're literally, sometimes I feel like that. I feel like I'm the welfare office for artists, right? The reason why I say that, it's not the artist's fault, it's the system's fault. Because it's a person that will probably get $1 million endowment, say like from a museum, that has $1 million just to do community work and equity work, and they'll call me and offer me $5,000 out of that $1 million. And then I got to figure out how to pay myself and them support me around just doing the community work, and it's not enough that they know they have $1 million. But then at the same time, I have to be the one that go into the community and do all of the groundwork, take all of the criticism, get all of the hate from other artists, and it divides. It doesn't bring us together. And so within that, the problems that happen, or even the inequities that happen within the arts community, falls on the shoulders of the artist, because now people have a false sense of what you have versus what you really have. If it looks like I'm eating a big chicken, but I only got a wing, barely, it's going to piss somebody off who has nothing on the plate. So when it comes to comes to being put in those positions, it becomes dangerous for artists because we take on the roles and responsibilities of the arts administrator and the person that's sitting in those high positions making the $250,000 salaries, who can sit in their cushy homes and offices while we're out there fighting the fight that they actually supposed to be fighting. Because we didn't create the system. So that would be my perspective of it. I don't know if I went off on a tangent and went another way, but you asked me to expound. That's my perspective.
We kind of talked about this already. Just so I can make sure I recall, if I recall correctly. We had a couple conversations, a long one on this. So I'm looking at the clock. So I'm not going to speak for, I'll keep it really brief. I'm looking at the minutes go as I'm talking. I struggle with this for natural reasons. I mean, I'm born and raised right here in East Cleveland. I've lived in this city. I left for 2 years, came right back, and been here ever since. Everything I've earned in this city has been, it wasn't options. It wasn't opportunities. It wasn't a lot when I was coming here as an artist in 2010. And I just want to be honest with that. I think in terms of the community, it's changed a lot. A lot more people of color have their voices heard now. But there is a natural divide that's happened. And with good reason, because like you said, those cushy jobs. If I can give a few grants out to others and have them do our work, then you don't have to answer those questions, right? You don't have to be the guy or the girl that looks bad amongst their peers because you got the opportunity. And not only that, but the conversations aren't being had either. Where it's like, can we come together as a unit and have those conversations? No, it's egos, it's a lot of things that come into play. So I think the systems is doing a great job in keeping that division happening and keeping us fighting for that stuff. And I think that's designed that way. I mean, we're not at the table, we're not a part of that. So I think for me, knowing that and understanding that, what I've always approached is, I've been doing critiques at the studio area that I got my studio at in Coventry. I've had programs where I've managed a bunch of youth and tried to help give them guidance in terms of which way they need to go artistically. I've been an educator since before I came back home. And I pride myself on trying to at least give another way of viewing things, another way to see versus just showing skill and talent, how to navigate and how to, what's the best way to move in this system. And I think in my way, that's my little way of contributing. I have been looking at other ways, and I think I've voiced some of those. But I think for the most part, we have to understand that it's not our job to do it all. I think when you say being artists should have a job of just being an artist, I think that's what you mean. It's like, I can help, I can reach out, I can contribute, but I'm not gonna make it to every show. I'm not gonna make it to everything everybody reaches out. I'm not gonna be able to enter into everything. I'm not gonna be able to overextend in that way because it's not possible. And I think I want to, and I'm saying this publicly now, I want to try to find a way to get a lot of us to sit down and really have some serious, honest discussions. Because part of the problem is we're not even really in the room where these decisions, where these endowments happen. We're not in the room, at all. And I've had the I don't want to say the privilege because it didn't really make me feel great. But I had the opportunity to sit in some of those rooms. I was the token black guy that they'd bring in to hear my opinion on how they should break this down and who should get what and how should we, divvy up this new grant and this new funding. And I would say, if we were at a more of a state of unity and had more of a position here in terms of like really leveraging what we bring to the table, we can change a lot of the climate here. But the problem is one group over here has their thing, one group over here has their thing, one group, and then we have a bunch of people kind of fighting and bumping each other to try to get something. And it just makes it worse. And honestly, but it looks like we're getting more visible. So on the outside looking in, a lot of black people are getting opportunities to be shown. But it's not equitable at all. So that's a larger conversation. So I have frustrations towards this specifically. Trust me. But we can talk about this for hours on end, so I gotta stop. But thanks for having me. Be a part of that question.
Let's pass this, man. It's just something about just an energy share, just kind of levels the space. It is pretty 40. All right.
I was watching the clock.
What clock? I can't even.
One right over here.
Yeah.
I was watching.
Right on. So let's do some quick questions. So one, like for real, like some one word answers. All right. We're not gonna do Q&A at all, right? That's over with. You want to? Mm-hmm. All right, let's do a quick Q&A, y'all.
Any
Does
questions?
anybody have any questions?
Can y'all describe the day y'all found out that y'all were dads? You found out that you became a father?
Could I describe the day I found out I was dead?
Yeah. You know,
When I found out I was a dad, I was working as an adjunct professor, and I was like, damn it, I gotta make a change. This ain't gonna cut it. I was happy. I love the pressure. And that was by far the most pressure building moment, is knowing that I had something else to take care of. Yeah.
Yeah, I was carrying mail in the snow, and I got the call, and I was like, oh, word? I gotta do something different. Same feeling. I gotta figure out how to provide it. Even though that was a job back then, it was some stable income coming in, it just wasn't enough in my mindset of what I wanted to do for my family. So, but yeah, I was literally at work when I found out.
I was traveling. I got a phone call, FaceTime. I got a FaceTime. I cut my flight, my trip short. I caught a flight home that day.
Good feeling though. Great feeling.
Any more questions?
I have a quick question. So oftentimes, as you all know, boys are tasked with being like emotionally contained. Oftentimes they characterize like our emotional self as, you're not supposed to be emotionally unregulated. So my question to you is, oftentimes I hear like the criticality of like fathers are supposed to be physically present, but can you describe to me why it's important as father also like emotionally present?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now in my father journey is part of that. When I even say presence is that, like, understanding how my kids feel. Like, I'm raising a son too, so him being 4, it's not saying, hey man, you can't cry. Like, yeah, go ahead man, cry. But then once you get it out, let's not harp on it no more. Let's figure out how to resolve that feeling. And let's figure out how to be better, or let's figure out how to prevent that from happening again, whatever it is, or let's figure out how to deal with whatever that's making you feel that way. And just have a conversation with my kids and being vulnerable is kind of like how I've been trying to navigate it, but I personally don't have the answer for that. It's just super hard to kind of know because each one has different personalities, and so they respond differently. But specifically, you said young men, that's kind of like what I've been doing is like where my wife is kind of like when he falls and she, does that. And sometimes I'm like, don't do that because if he's all right, he starts crying when she does this. So it's like, it's really just trying to figure out when he's really hurt versus when he's just like still trying to garner that baby, like pick me up type thing, because he's 4. you know. So, but other than that, I'm still trying to navigate that. That's my personal take.
I would say I try to keep my children with me a lot. Because I think authentic things happen, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to just quite honestly just be more emotionally open, but I feel like, or emotionally available, I say. But I feel like the interactions I have with my children, and the more I'm with them, the more they're just going to get that authentically. You know what I mean? So I do, like, one of the things I didn't say about my practice is I was the night shift dad. So my wife would be asleep. I let her sleep because she had the baby all day while I was at work. I would do my art while I was with my son, you know, at night. So it was so many, like, moments that we've just had emotionally together. And I think for me, it's just understanding that the more I invite them into that space, and the more that they're present with, because I feel like if I had to try to teach it, I can't. You know? So you just got to see it in action, if that makes sense.
I'll add quickly, I think the seeing it in action is the key for me. You know, I know she's gonna hear me, she's gonna hold me accountable, so I'm trying to work to hold me accountable. We got this thing called family time, after bath time, before bed time, and it's oftentimes party time. Like, I be tired, you know, I'm you know, and or we would draw or read, but like what I found when I muster through it, it's a dad can ask you a question. Or dad, can I tell you something? And those be the moments where like, it's just, I meet my daughter here, you know what I'm saying? And like, what I'm learning is, you know, she at the age now where she, you know, she can have these little crushes, and it's so weak. I can't see. You can see, you know, the weak crushes, but like, I feel like the more emotionally available I am for her, like it's setting the standard for this dude, you know. And like if he dry, and she see baby, you know what I'm saying, she gonna see me cry up, you know what I'm saying, like we cooking spaghetti together, I'm gonna cry up, you know what I'm saying, you know, and not cry, but I'm gonna be grateful, you know. So like, I feel like being emotionally intelligent is it's like I'm planting a seed, I'm sowing a seed for an expectation for my daughter, you know. Yeah. You okay?
We can do two more questions.
So I see like y'all saying everybody's like talking about coming up in basically two-family household. What about if you're trying to do it in a single dad? Like what advice?
He mentioned that he had that marriage, like he's not all under one roof. He's co-parenting. So he's been going through that. His perspective has been from that, I think, for the most part. But
Can I say this?
yeah, go ahead.
I don't turn this into no mentoring session, dog. But like, I don't know what the parents, I don't know what the adults. When we was kids, the adults didn't use enough words. You know what I'm saying? Like their wisdom was in like two words. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta triple click it to get the meaning. You know what I'm saying? Because it makes sense now. You know what I'm saying? But I wish they would have told me in paragraphs versus one sentence. Right? But not to turn this into no mentoring program, bro. But get married first, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like falling in love and like getting a crib and like making plans and cashing out on vacations and stuff like that's cool, bro. But like if I could redo it or leave the person alone if you know that ain't the person. You know what I'm saying? Like we done got over transparent now. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, they got qualities that could be or this person could become. But like there's a part where you just know it ain't it, leave them alone, dog. Even if it means it might cause temporary discomfort, bro. Leave that person alone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful that I did not leave my person alone, because I got that beautiful person right there. And, brother, if I wasn't emotionally intelligent, and I didn't, bro, you know, we talk about men's mental health, right? Or we talk about Father's Day, man. You know, I say this with a lot of grace, that like some fathers might not have been around because of the hell that was intentionally curated. And it takes one heck of a person to endure, right? And I ain't about to be sneak this in my co-parent because I still love the person. You know, she had a whole other relationship with another great guy. Perfect. Divine order is always in order. And imagine if I would have listened to the wisdom, the same spirit-led that leads my expression. If I was emotionally intelligent enough to be willing to cause somebody some pain and my own self some pain, who knows? You know what I'm saying? And because we don't know, I gotta be at a certain level of emotional togetherness at all times for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Because what we gonna do? Not raise our kids? No. You know what I'm saying? So, you got kids?
I got 2.
Oh, cool. You grown. Alright. Well, you would have said no. I'm playing. Who else would be like married? You know what I'm saying?
I would love to add a little bit though.
Educate us, brother. Please.
No, I ain't gonna do that. What I will say is this. Me coming from my mother being the person who raised me, it puts so many different perspectives on things. I think we worship and idealize our moms. At least a lot of us do. I'm not gonna say everybody, but a lot of, especially black men, man, we worship that. And the more I get to be the dad on the other end, I get to see it differently, right? I get to have those moments as a father that I'm like, crap. You know, if this was like this for him, you know, so I'm always trying to analyze and look at it from different perspectives, right? Because I'm in the house, so I get a different view. But I have friends that's not in the house with their kids. And I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine how it would be and how the kids are sometimes being set up to feel a certain way or to think a certain way or to experience things a certain way because they worship the crap out of that mom. And that's a bond that I'm realizing, man, me even being in the house, I ain't breaking that. You know, I'm not breaking that. I'm saying it this way. For Father's Day, my son was asleep. My wife, what she does, she thinks she's slick. She kind of makes it a public announcement, so to speak. Because she know they don't remember. Like, I'm just being honest. She know they don't remember. My daughter, though, makes stuff for her mother ahead of Mother's Day. My son, I'm just being honest. Because it's just there. And I think as men, sometimes we get jealous, too. I know for me personally, being in the house, I'm still not leveled up to her. And I'm jealous of that. So I would say, you got to just leave stuff with your children, no matter where you're at. If you're there all the time, if you're in the house, if you're not in the house, you got to leave those moments and those things, those inspirational moments, those transcending moments with your children, and leave them with them knowing that when they grow up, when they get older, they're going to look back at those. And that's where that appreciation for you starts to happen more. All right? We can't look at those things and say, I ain't doing this, or they don't like this, or we got to think like, man, we're leaving these seeds, we're leaving these nuggets with our children that they're going to look at later on and they're going to really remember it and relish it. All right? Yeah.
I would add to it, but I do want to hear the other question though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as I know you said there was one more. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't want to add to it and then kill the other question. So.
I had a question. You spoke on division and, groups chasing after the same resources. And in these times when we are also divided, how would y'all say that we should inspire solidarity and unity within our different communities and whatnot?
I think we need to hold regular peace circles for artists, for funders, for just the art community, where we get people, where we get us together in a cool, clean environment, and we build authentic relationships, and we go home. I think if we do that regularly, whether it's like every other month, every other week, because it's a lot of us, but like where we RSVP ahead of time, we do it for 2 hours, and we come to the next one. That's what I was like, actual action that results in value-based relationships.